Hello everybody. I have another video for you guys. It is June 8th, 2026, roughly about 5 p.m. in the afternoon, and I'm bringing you an update on what is happening in the tropics. So you guys can see, based on the National Hurricane Center, not much happening in the Atlantic, but on the Pacific, it's a different story. Now we're looking at here two tropical storms, Christina and Boris. Now, Christina and Boris are minimal tropical storms, so nothing major is expected as far as wind effect, basically, in general, because they're not expected to intensify any further. Now, the concern with Boris and Christina, at least a couple concerns. One is the fact that they're slow-moving storms, and I'm going to show you, first of all, Boris. Now, Boris is expected to make landfall in the state of Guerrero in Mexico, near Acapulco. And as you guys can see on the graph there, roughly about, we'll say probably anywhere from 4 to 8 inches of rain. And again, the deeper that rain moves inward, or inland, I should say, is going to create some issues as far as potential flooding, and especially in the mountainous areas. But it looked like it's going to be mostly a coastal event. So at least that's a positive for folks in Mexico in regards of Boris. Now let's take a look at Christina. Now Christina is a little bit different. Christina is expected to not move at all a whole lot, or not much, and the rain totals are much higher. I mean, you're looking at potential coastal El Salvador and Nicaragua getting at least 8 inches of rain, if not more. And obviously that's a significant event. Now let's take a look at the cone so you guys can see what it's supposed to be doing. And again, it's going to be affecting Nicaragua, El Salvador, Guatemala, and some parts of it, really far south Mexico. Now, the question here is, if Christina survives crossing all that land and actually moving into the Bay of Campeche, and again, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it has a small percentage of that happening. And if it does, if enough energy actually moves over to the Bay of Campeche, there's a possibility that maybe it could start reorganizing again. But again, it is a very small percentage, so I wouldn't even honestly pay too much attention to it, because it's going to be a slim chance. But nevertheless, it's going to be a major rain event more than anything. So folks in El Salvador, Nicaragua, Guatemala, you guys need to start preparing for a lot of rain, which in mountainous regions, it can cause landslides, it can cause flooding, and that's obviously a major problem. Now, let's take a look and see at, so let's see what it's happening as far as a little analysis here of surface temperatures. You guys can see, let me zoom in here. Obviously, there's a lot of warm water, even in the Gulf and Western Caribbean. For the most part, the Pacific is the hot spot. That's why, because we're transitioning into a very strong El Nino. But let's see and take a look at the graph of El Nino 3.4, and you guys can see that it's basically at its warmest point it has been, at least since March, indicating that El Nino is actually intensifying and becoming a more serious event, as it was expected. We have been talking about this for weeks now, and actually for months, that El Nino, it was going to continue to intensify and potentially become one of the strongest El Nino ever recorded in history. So that's, again, is heading that direction. Now let's take a look at the forecasting models. In the forecasting models in previous videos, the GFS, of course, it has been the more bullish one. But it has fallen off, and it's not really showing a whole lot, but a little bit or more of an increase in precipitation in the Gulf of Mexico, Gulf states, Florida. So you guys can see I moved the whole bar, and not really a storm developing, but an increase in general of precipitation. Now let's take a look at the Euro. The Euro, same thing. See, now the Euro shows the energy that I was mentioning surviving land interaction and going into the Bay of Campeche. If I zoom in here, and again, not a storm, but a decent amount of rain potentially for parts of Mexico, and even making it to south, to the border, basically to South Texas. Now let's take a look at the Canadian model. The Canadian model kind of showing the same thing. You see all the way down in the Bay of Campeche, that small area there, surviving and kind of getting a little stronger, and then bringing some precipitation to parts of Mexico. And the last one is still running, so it's not going to show a whole lot, but this is basically the German model, and it's again not showing anything because it's actually running as of right now. Now let's take a look at the MJO. I've showed this graph before. Of course, this is showing favorable conditions in general. Now you guys see there South America. What we want, in a sense, for tropical development is the green. The green means there's more water or more precipitation in the atmosphere where the storms can actually feed off and start developing. Now we're in a very dry state right now, and at least in the Western Caribbean and the Gulf and in the Atlantic, but conditions are not favorable at all to sustain any major development until potentially beginning of July and into the mid of July. That's when you see the greens kind of showing up more in the Caribbean and the Western Caribbean. Now let's take a look at also the wind shear, because this is very, very important graph. And as you guys can see, south of Jamaica, there's a little pocket where potential. I'll show it on the radar in a few seconds of because it's flaring up, but it's not sustainable. It's just creating a bunch of rain. And as soon as it passes south of Jamaica into Western Cuba, it just, there's a lot of wind shear. I mean, you guys can see a little pocket over here where that green and the yellow is, and that's what we're looking at, a potential little spin up there, and that's what you saw on the models, on the couple models there. But it's just not the time of the year for supporting any major development. And let's go back to tropical tidbits and to the radar, so you guys can see what I'm talking about here as far as the what is happening south of Jamaica. Now, if I do a little bit of zooming here, you guys can see just a broad area of disorganized showers and a little bit of a flare up down here as well, south of Jamaica or in Jamaica. So obviously it's bringing some thunderstorms and showers into Jamaica. But how I presented that and show you guys based on that previous graph, it's just gonna create a disorganized showers, but it's not gonna survive anything push more this way. But that's what everything is happening right now in the tropics. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll keep you posted. If you guys see this video, check my short video that I posted regarding that earthquake that happened about 64 miles west of Cuba. We did definitely felt it here in Central Florida. If you guys haven't watched it, check it out. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, share it with your families and friends, and I'll see you guys on the next one.